Welcome into the Fantasy Sanctuary. I am your humble host with a dual monitor problem. Tyler, aka Emo Cowboy, here on the Fantasy Sanctuary, here to give you some pre-draft best ball content. I'm joined by a very special guest that I'll show you in just a moment, but just welcoming everyone in on this fine Monday as we have so little time before the NFL draft to get our final pre-draft tourneys in, get the final exposures right where we want them, attack the player values, and really specifically nail down the NFL draft rumors that we're hearing. A couple guys seemingly locked into their spots, a couple contradictory reports. So I want to go through all of that today. Here, joined by my special guest, Bendels. Bendels, welcome into the channel once again. Good to see you. How you doing, Bubba?
I'm good, brother. Yeah, thanks for having me on. I see you've been posting the juicy gym pics recently, so had to get a piece for myself.
The one way to make sure you hit the gym is when you're telling people you're trying to hit the gym and get in shape, and if you miss a week or even a session, you feel like you're falling behind. And so it's been good. The Davis Maddock training channel has been a good spot for you and I to get to talk shop, and it's just fun to root for folks and get them going and get their wins. It's how else are you supposed to get ready for hot best ball summer if you're not in the gym, you're not eating right, all this good stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. No, man. It's important to work on all that stuff and get your cardio in, get your workouts in. I've been trying to be consistent and I'm cutting. I think which as a few other people are and. Was traveling this weekend, so definitely didn't do any cutting this weekend because I was with my family. But that's the thing; you just get back to it and keep grinding.
There you go. All right, for the folks that want to jump in and join us on the big board over on Underdog Fantasy, use promo code Sanctuary if you haven't joined Underdog for up to $1,000 bonus cash. We're gonna go 5, 4, 3, 2, uno, and we're live. Waiting for 11, so brand new room for all you sickos and degenerates to steal our EV,
Get in
and just leave us none of the fun values. As we wait for the room to start up, just want to touch on a couple things. As the thumbnail suggests, and as we've been kind of talking about in the various channels and on Twitter, that Cam Ward to the Titans, even though it seemed like the Giants had a pretty compelling trade package and a pretty big push from the staff, starting with John Mara all the way down, to the coach and the GM to try to, throw the kitchen sink at quarterback. Where they've landed is adding Winston as QB 2 or 3, adding Russ as QB 2 or 1, and now kind of just figuring out how to play the draft as it falls from the 3 spot. Because it seems like the Titans have just decided we're going to just stick at 1, take Cam Ward, and figure it out after we've really solidified the offensive line. That's where everybody's been pushing, and for the last couple of weeks we've been drafting that way. But so the lock is really at 1. 2 is where it gets a little interesting. It seems like the last week or so the smoke is that Travis Hunter is the target for the Browns, really, and that seems like the nut and landing spot for Travis Hunter. The way I've read the tea leaves, a lot of the league doesn't really think they want to use him as a two-way player the way he was used in college, and a lot of the NFL, not all of them, but a lot of the NFL since January, whether it's Ben Albright or Daniel Jeremiah, that the NFL majorly looks at him as like a cornerback first and a wide receiver second. But it seems like the Browns and Andrew Berry the last few weeks have been very open that they view him as a playmaking wide receiver first and foremost, very much a ultra version of Champ Bailey and Charles Woodson. And it seems like the smoke right now is that, and I still believe Sanders or Dart, a quarterback, could be the pick at 2, because it did seem like the Browns were open to trading out, accumulate picks. They need so much to make that contract for Watson work, how it's really capping themselves and not really having a quarterback on the roster right now. But it seems like Kirk Cousins is still the break class in case of emergency option at quarterback for the Browns, seemingly opening them up to take a true revolutionary player in Hunter that can be wide receiver first as far as Barry's concerned of the Browns, and then a cornerback second, kind of get mileage out of two positions there. And so it seems like Hunter's the favorite right now. Sanders or Dart. It sounds like quarterback going at 2. Dart has a real, per the insiders, a real chance to be the second quarterback taken based on traits. But it seems like Hunter's probably the odds-on favorite player to go at 2, as a wide receiver. So as someone who's been light on Hunter, if he goes to the Browns, that's probably the worst case scenario for my slight fade position portfolio, but I have been hedging taking him as I've gotten more information. That's what we do. Good process, adjust to new information. 3 is where the draft gets fun. Abdul Carter likely sitting there at 3. Do the Giants try to find a trade partner to get out of 3? It seems like they'd like Hunter and potentially try to package Sanders and Hunter together. If they're not able to do that, do they take an edge? Really? Do they try to trade back? Will anyone trade up for that? Will they stick and take Carter? Will they take Sanders? I think that's where the draft gets interesting. It seems like Sanders has more odds to fall if he doesn't get taken at 2 than he is to take at 3. So, and then it seems like the Jags want, Mason Graham. It seems like Will Campbell, the tackle, probably goes to the Patriots at 4. So it seems like the draft either gets really fun at 3 with a trade partner, or the Giants just taking whatever quarterback and not messing around. We haven't really got an indication of either way that's going to lean, but it seems like it could go full chalk of Ward, Hunter, Carter, Campbell, and then Graham, and then the fun starts at 6 with the Raiders. Do they take Genty? Do they take a falling Sanders? Do they take a Dart? What do the Raiders do? Do they take Tet? It seems like Tet might fall. It seems like Egbuka and Golden have much better odds to go over Tet, and Tet goes at 4 or 3, which is very interesting. So those are the kind of the tea leaves we're reading right now. There's a lot of information, thoughts, Bendels, as we get going in this draft with a bunch of friends and family we recognize. So let me know what you think as I say what up to the chat and see who's joining us.
Yeah, I mean, I think Hunter, obviously we're wish casting a little bit because obviously we're fantasy bros, but I mean, I do think the money is on that side of things from the wide receiver position. And then I also think, like, if it's the Browns who take him, I think they are a very analytically driven team. And so I kind of feel like that is just like the best value for your money. Ooh, I like all of these guys here.
It's hard to not like all of them.
I kind of want to go BTJ, but I'm good with anything.
I love BTJ. I'm not going to say no. I've gotten him twice in the second round for wrong reasons. He shouldn't be falling like that. He's locked into a fantastic role. And Cohen's got to make this thing work. Best case scenario is that he's the Chris Godwin, the Cooper Kupp of this McVay inspired offense. He's kind of a Mon-Ra and Malik Neighbors in the same player. Like he's very effective in the short game, and he's very explosive in the yak, and he's very explosive deep. So, and we have less questions about his quarterback and his offensive environment than we do, with the Giants right now. And I think with the Giants for the next few months, in all honesty, because, if whatever rookie they take, that's a huge question mark. Coming back around, we can just go Alpha Bowers. I know we like London as well, and we can get weird and tricky with AJ Brown. Lad McConkey going at 13. You'll love to see it, but you want to just go Bowers here, lock it up?
I kind of feel like Bowers. Yeah, I was talking about him. I think when I joined last week with BBG. But yeah, I think Bowers is just generational, and we overuse that word, of course, but I think he could just be a true difference maker at the tight end position, and I'm perfectly fine taking him here. I think you can make the case to even push him up whatever to the 1-2 turn there. So
I won't be surprised if he starts becoming a fixture of the first round. Also, shout out Robert Griffin III, Squirt Squad member joining the Nut Club. Love to see it. How much Hunter do we have? Well, I know your drafting situation is tough, so as far as like legalities are concerned. So yes. I will check my exposures. Let's see. It's probably not a lot. Like I said, I've been in okay. Well, hey, look at me. I got the 8%. I am at the field.
Wow.
Was it the best ADP? No. Will it matter? Rizzy Pearsall said no. It's just nailing construction and players. And then shout out Nick. We spent last couple weeks talking Hunter. I think that, I probably, and this is one of my lessons learned every year, is like, I tend to be a little too aggressive on the bearish front, and it takes me a little long to work back from that, for non-health related things. So I will say, for me, I think I started adjusting for, at least price and risk a little bit better, than I would have. And at the end of the day, I think the types of guys you're able to get and combo up, there's been plenty of shifting happening in the ADP landscape that I don't feel too bad about it, because I feel like nailing players in construction at this part of the draft season is much more important than price per se.
Yeah, I 1,000,000% agree.
Josh Jacobs falling back to 33 seems fun.
Yeah, no, let's do that. I'm not a huge Josh Jacobs guy, but
we're in a piss boy room, but I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid, Mendels. I think we'll be all right.
I'm not afraid.
Famous last words.
Yeah, that's a good price on him. I mean, if you're going to take him, that's when a full 8 picks. That feels good.
Howdy, Peppertoni. Let's see. I would feel bad about my Hunter bags who went to Cleveland Steamers. Well, so Cleveland's the one team that we've gotten consistent smoke that they're going to utilize him. They view him as a very explosive player and wide receiver, and they have an open depth chart. If anything, I think that just allows. I mean, like, Judy probably drops a round or two, but I do think Pickett is showing us that they, this is a team that can put all the pieces together, then go to Kirk Cousins in Atlanta after the draft and say, hey, let's make it work. And then even if they don't do that, I do think there's still availability to make it work with either trading for a backup, your Nick Mullins types, not necessarily Nick Mullins. But like, this is a team that is not, I strongly doubt they go into the season with Kenny Pickett as the quarterback one. I think the Browns are much more likely to trade for trade up and draft a Dart or a falling Sanders than they are to go into week one with Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett is obviously the Mitch Trubisky, type of first round guy. See if we can't make him work. I know Chase Brown, falling slightly. I know, it's fine. I think construction wise, probably go receiver here.
Yeah, let's pass. Do you want? I'm good with any of those.
If we're gonna catch up, we should probably just full send with Rice.
Yeah, I kind of
really like JMO. I know you're a Lions.
No. I like Rice better. I like Rice better.
Rice, because right now with the information we have, with the almost, it seems like almost 0%. I think I'm comfortable saying less than 5% risk based on, lawyer Drew on Twitter that the suspension is going to hit, and then outside of that, and the suspension risk was more concerning than the injury, because a few weeks ago, as we've said a couple times, Jeff Mueller and a few other doctors are pretty surprised at where he is in his progress, which just means it is less likely that he starts on the PUP and less likely that it takes him a long time to ramp up. So I'm feeling good about Rice. He wasn't really ever going past maybe mid to late 50s.
Yeah.
So at this point, I'm packing my bags on talented players with talented roles right now, and we're gonna have to make it up with quantity anyway. So even if Rice takes a few weeks and wrong, takes 4 to 6 weeks for him to get there, I think we can still get him there.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we're still very far out, but we're getting positive news, like you said, on the injury stuff and possibly the legal stuff. So, I mean, if it wasn't for either of those things, he would probably be and he's fully healthy and no legal problems. He'd probably be going in the second round. So I'm willing to take the discount, especially if we're trying to catch up. Like you said. So,
yep. Nick asking thoughts on having Egbuka in for a visit. I mean, it's a little bit odd of a fit since he's kind of like a slot-ish guy, and that's who Jaden is. But I mean, I expect the Raiders. I expect the Packers to address wide receiver in this draft, considering I believe Doubs is a free agent next year. Wicks and Reed are nearing the end of their rookie contracts. And Watson's not likely to play much in 2025, if at all. If he is, it's going to be real late in the season, playoff wise. So it makes a lot of sense for them to, and with Love having a big boy contract now, it makes a lot of sense for them to go address wide receiver. It might be a sign that they don't love that Reed hasn't been exactly what they want to be in this offense. Who knows? I don't read too far into it. I think another receiver feels prudent here. Do you have a lean on any of these guys you like?
Yeah, I think let's go Waddle. I like to buy the dip on him after kind of obviously disappointing season last year. Kind of just a weird situation with the offensive line and everything. And I still want to bet on the talent, so I'm good taking him here in the 50s.
And then Chris Candyman, who is back streaming, by the way, if you like late night lo-fi beats and chill vibes, a fellow Houstonian. Go Cougs tonight, baby. Go Cougs. Saying Browns get Hunter round 1, trade to get Sanders round 2. That was the smoke that the Giants could be saying. And in all honesty, it makes a lot of sense to pair up, rookie quarterbacks with their rookie wide receivers in college. So wouldn't be surprised at all. And depending on where the Sanders falls, may not be too expensive. If he's falling outside the top 10, you could definitely make a case that it's not too expensive to get that rookie quarterback contract, 5th-year option, all that good stuff. Even if he is physically limited, Stefanski is the type of offense you trust to get it there.
I think that'd be a good fit. Yeah.
Yeah, greatfit.com. I don't love Debo.
Yeah, I don't either.
We could do the Ridley to Ward stack. We could take the falling Kamara, or we could take Henderson, who I don't have a lot of, and I am not wanting to get totally boxed out of going forward.
Yeah, do you think it's too risky to take Henderson here and push our wide receivers?
Let's do Ridley. Let's be prudent. Let's take Ridley. We got Ward. It is what it is. I'm not going to have a whole lot of Henderson simply because of how I build. Exactly. Wanting to target these types of receivers, usually having 1 to 2 running backs through this range. It is what it is. Great segue. Go me. Speaking of Henderson, there, per the Draft Rumor Insiders, that there's expected over 2.5 quarterbacks in the first round. Joe Milton gets an invite from the NFL. Interesting. And I think that's not as bullish for Milton as it is that the NFL is pretty sure 3 quarterbacks go, and so they're worried 4 might go, and they don't want to not invite a quarterback. It's a big deal.
You mean Milroe, right? I'm sorry.
No, sorry.
You're good.
Joe Milroe. And then on the rookie running backs, it seems like maybe a team decides they want to get up and get one of Caleb Johnson, Travion Henderson, or the like. So one of the things I'm not going to be surprised about is if 3 quarterbacks go in the first round, which I think a lot of us have been expecting for a few weeks now. But now might just be, a team goes and gets their running back, kind of like a few years ago when like Rashad Penny and CEH were back in first round guys as fits. So the one thing that makes me a little scared about the incidental Henderson fade is simply because it might be a first round running back. And that means his cost is going straight up
at a pretty cheap cost for that. Yeah. Right. So I'm really into Henderson. I think my comp is like, I don't know if I got this from listening to something, but like kind of like DeAndre Swift, but like if he didn't do the stupid shit he does and like rubber, like the pass blocking and bouncing it outside, like I think he has that explosiveness, he has the pass catching, and just a very fantasy friendly skill set. So I'm pretty in. I mean, like you said, the drafting dynamics, it's kind of hard to take him there just based on the builds, but on talent wise and like in dynasty rookie drafts and stuff, I'm definitely in.
I come in here on the 81st pick, 7th round. Let's see. I'm going to see what Little Miss Brady does.
Oh,
Brady goes Egbuka, sad face.
That's who I
wanted.
Get a
potential first overall non-Travis Hunter quarterback or wide receiver.
Yeah.
I'm not thinking, anybody else will get pulled up. Hunter goes. Yeah, I guess Golden makes sense here, right? Rookie receiver, not the biggest, funnest click, but as wide receiver 5, first round receiver makes sense. He's probably just going to get more expensive. His landing spot's very important, but I will say that his end of season metrics were looking a lot stronger than his beginning of the season. So I think is a concerning profile. A lot of receivers in the class do. Rich and I believe it was either Wyatt or another one of our dynasty guests. We've done profile videos on a majority of these fantasy relevant top 50 guys. And despite Golden's glaring red flags, we never know how these guys are going to translate exactly. And in the right systems, their strengths are utilized. And his strength is big, fast, body, vertical, and that's good for it's good for best ball, good for fantasy football. So, at that point, I don't want to. You don't have to overthink it.
Yeah, I don't love the profile at all, but I think you just go with God, go with the draft profile, draft capital, and let's see.
Running back 2 here could be interesting. I don't feel the need to push anything else at this point. Do we want to take the Caleb John? I think I don't mind Caleb Johnson's price here. He's been falling here.
Yeah, I'm fine scooping that up here as a RB2. That's I think
at this price it's interesting because he still had a very elite 10-yard split given his size and his long speed. I looked up the top speeds of the college athletes last year, and he popped up as either making the top 20 speeds or honorable mention top speeds, right along with some of the other speed backs in this class. So given his size and his RAS, I think it doesn't take an imaginative mind to see how he smashes at ADP, especially if he's going to be one of these sneaky first round running backs taken, or if he's taken in the second round by a team that's looking for a volume back. His visits have been pretty interesting. So I think at this price, I have a lot of Warren and Pollard, a lot of Pollard specifically. But as far as rookies and rookies that could absolutely smash in a workhorse role, I think Caleb Johnson stands out as one of those guys. His price is a little expensive now, but in this range, I think I'm very fine with it.
Yeah, I think it was Josh and Hayden from the Underdog channel, but they're talking about how very, very solid in outside zone schemes. And I think there will be a team in the second or third round that he'll be a great fit and that they're going to take him there. And I think, like you said, given his size and I'm not really worried about the speed whatsoever. Like 4.57 for a guy who's 225 pounds, perfectly adequate. And like you said, top speed is fine. Maybe the acceleration a little bit slower, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. Like Josh Jacobs, a guy we took right in the third round and who's given us some crazy seasons, not the fastest guy at all. I think believe he was in the 4.6s. So not the end all be all for running backs.
Yeah. It's 17 big boards left, less than 2 weeks away from the NFL draft, or about 2 weeks away. Don't want to have zero of guys with very interesting, very good profiles with just looking to like what do you win when they hit? And he stands out as like a league winning type of guy. Shout out Chad joining the Sanctuary. For those joining and becoming members, make sure to get in the Discord. Check out Rich's rookie guide that just dropped. A lot of really good stuff in there. Tom's best ball rankings coming out soon. Have redraft rankings hitting after that. What's up, Cody? What's up, Disbanded? Pepper Tony with his alpha 23% hunter through 140 big boards. Very nice. Nick, I think asking about the Cleveland thing. It's just I'm reading the tea leaves and what the insiders are leaking. And if they are, I think Sanders is definitely still a don't overthink it type of thing. But if the GM is in love with the generational player and they want to play fast and loose with QB 2 or 3 and 4, if they don't see a huge gap, we've seen teams attempt to do that. So, and I think they feel safer than they should with Kirk Cousins as the back stack. Christian Kirk, Rashid Shaheed here. Quarterbacks kind of flying off the board.
Yeah, I was going to say because Lawrence goes later, Tua goes later. I say we take Kirk. I think he's a good fill-in for the Rice and the rookie stuff. So
yeah, don't mind that. I probably prefer the Shaheed explosion, but I'm not going to be surprised if Houston's just a better offense than New Orleans season long, given how they're adjusting. That said, both teams, I'm kind of worried about their offensive line parties. 100%. What's up, G-Temp? I don't think you'd be too worried about Tillman. Consider that if they take Hunter, it's that Tillman and Hunter are the perimeter guys, and Judy's the slot guy. And if they're doing all that, Tillman's still an ex-boundary receiver. I think the only person that really hurts is Judy in like the short, quick hitting yak type of stuff. But this is just potential for like the offense to actually have 3 worthwhile dudes.
Yeah, which I mean is probably a net positive just for the offense, right? It's just like so it might help them all as well. So, okay,
We can do Love here, or we can take Mason and try to push Love around.
Let's go Mason.
Hell yeah. Let's invest in good guys at good. Ty Chandler burned us last year. What could go wrong this year? I feel even better about Mason than I did about Ty Chandler. So what could go wrong? But as we talked about, the trading, extending, strong signals. He's by all advanced metrics a very talented player. He's going from a very talented scheme to another talented scheme. A 32-year-old back in front of him. We know he's not going to be the pass catcher. So if his price gets, I think at some point in the 8th round, I'll be a little skittish because he will not catch that many passes. It's just not his role, and they will have someone else do it. But as far as goal line behind an offensive line that did get a lot of additions, and then just efficiency, I'm loving the price to load up. Pimp Daddy Satan. It's a hell of a name. What's Candyman? What were you worried about, Candyman? I don't know what you were. Yeah, it is sad we're losing out on the quarterback, but this is a draft I feel comfortable kind of scrapping together quarterbacks. We've got Cam Ward later making it work.
Cam Ward, Gino.
What's up, little Miss Brady? Milton Milroe. I'm gonna get those names confused all the time. Especially if Milroe finds his way onto the Patriots, where they currently employ a Milton.
That would be hilarious.
But yeah, this QB room reminds me a lot of early Big Board. For the last few weeks, the QB's been pretty relaxed, pretty chill. Guys are falling 20 picks past ADP. Today, all of a sudden, we rip a stream draft. Everybody's getting real
frothy
quarterbacks. Yeah. Let's see. People apologizing to each other about. Oh, that's what it is. We've got in the draft. They're just chatting away. JT, I only take my shirt off for big super chats or big gifted memberships. Those are just the rules. I am a paid exotic dancer of the draft streams. Apparently, this was. Is Milton the Cowboy? He was formerly a Patriot.
Oh yeah, he got traded for.
Been a lot of news. Chad Candle's asking how many games does Dart need to start to be a worthwhile 20th round pick? I'd say considering that the games he starts are likeliest at the end of the season.
Yeah, back weighted. Yeah.
Where all the money matters. It doesn't have to be more than like 2 or 3 if he's good. Because again, like 20th round pick, you want one usable week. And if the usable week is in the playoffs, you're even more happy.
Yeah.
And it seems like if he goes in the first round, his odds to start 8+ games, historically speaking, for round 1 rookies is very high.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'd say using historical numbers that we have for reference, there's your answer. FYI, we get to 40 likes. We'll rip a second draft. I'd like to do that on drafters for a little cumulative season PPR scoring. So I am sitting in that $10 lobby, by the way, waiting for it to fill. 9 to 12, 3 more. Just FYI to the people. If you want to be, if you want to get on there, hit that like. Appreciate everybody joining and commenting. I'm curious if, we mentioned player values, and we are on stream, so I definitely know we're going to get sniped here when I say it. But another guy I realize that is standing out as a value. I guess we'll get to that. Value-wise, like David Njoku falling. Do we want to
push QB further? Yeah, I'm trying to.
Do we want to just grab Lawrence here? Do we feel like we're at risk of losing Lawrence? I don't think we are. There's elite quarterback havers, but I understand if you want Stroud.
No.
And
let's go Njoku, and then we can be done at tight end if we want to be.
I love being done at tight end. I do. If you can get 2 tight ends and be done, I'd much prefer that.
Yeah, I mean, it's okay. We can also just consider Bowers alpha wide receiver who can fill our flex if we want to think about it that way. So
Especially if we believe the quarterback is getting better than Kenny Pickett.
yeah, exactly.
Which I think at this price, it could be Kenny Pickett, and he's still probably fine at ADP.
Dude, Njoku is I'm a perma Njoku stan, so yeah, I think that's a great price on him.
I think we've done 3, 2 on my account, 1 on PPR Tyler's account. When we do Typhoon Tower Thursdays, JT, I told the guys I'd like to do at least one more bigger board. That's the 100 on Underdog, because I just love the price structure and small field size. So I think we're going to try to make that our second draft this Thursday. That's what I'm going to push for.
Nice.
Try to get it filled because they're all hard to fill. Lawrence goes ahead of us.
Jesus,
you hate to see it. Ripperoni.
You want to go? I'm kind of into Tootin.
Tootin's interesting.
Or we could go Tua.
We could do. It's not the most fun stack with McCarthy and Mason.
How do you feel about Tua? Or just push him?
I think Tua as our first quarterback's fine.
Yeah, I mean he's not that much different than the guys that go 20, 30 picks later.
He's almost guaranteed to be useless in the playoffs unless floor is what you need.
Yeah,
just historically speaking. But as far as an advance rate, I think if Waddle is hitting an ADP, Tua is likely having a pretty solid to good season. So I think Tua there is fine.
How do you feel about Tootin? Have you been taking a lot of them recently or over the course of your
I got him a lot later in the draft early on, and I haven't loved his price. I think and this is where like these prices, it's not gonna hurt. Like I'm not gonna say it's not gonna hurt you. It's not gonna hinder you. Because hits matter more than misses. That said, I just think this is a really good range for some quarterbacks, some tight ends, and just other running backs, specifically some of the rookies. It's kind of a flattish thing. I think his upside's interesting, but I do think he's got like real warts. Who doesn't at this range of the draft? So I'm taking him sometimes. I definitely think on Underdog this price, it's less hindering than like cumulative season, where if he's not really coming on to the end, versus a guy who's pretty good, and usable all season, that is hindering. So he's one that's just like it's not my favorite click in this range because I do like a couple of other contingent to standalone backs. And because we just didn't see his mock draft big board consensus rise with his very good combine. And so it felt a little too steamy compared to some of the other potentially better running back, picks at or later than he.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. Yeah, I definitely think he's a better like 15th round pick than 13th or 12th round pick. So
I got you, Scott. Well, at least you have Underdog and DK. In New York, they have nothing.
Be count your blessings there.
What's up, Hartman? How's it going? If you haven't, if you're just joining us, if you want a second draft, hit the like button. We get 40 likes, we'll rip a second draft. We are at 11 of 12, and that drafter's $10. I might jump out and jump back in just to make sure we don't start it up before we go live, FYI. But I would like to do second draft on drafters. But if the chat demands it be a big board, I'm in a generous mood. I'm not going to be too tyrential. Now that I have my pre-gym carbs to snack on stream.
What you hitting today?
That's a great question. I think it's going to be chest and back. They're feeling nice.
What split are you running right now?
We are running the whatever feels recovered. We're just hitting it with volume. Some weeks I'm able to go every single day for 5 days in a row, and some days it's like, I need a break.
Yeah, no, that's smart. All right. Yeah, let's just go Ward.
Yeah, let's just make sure we lock up our Ridley stack. We'll go from there.
Yeah, I mean,
third quarterback is probably
first overall pick quarterback and stacked. Here
with underrated mobility.
Yeah, I mean, he's interesting, man. Like, I feel like I was a little bit. It's just quarterback. we just literally can't predict it like in the draft. It's like so if he's taken first overall and the NFL likes him that much,
He's going to
um,
rise.
and he has some intriguing traits, which he does, then fuck it,
Well, he's got a pretty good fantasy friendly profile, I think, underrated wise. Like he's got some deep accuracy, aggressive, and he's got mobility. And the O line got better. So, and they have every reason to make him work.
Yeah, 100%.
So I feel like that has a little bit more upside than some of these other picks. And he's not getting benched.
All right, we're back up. Let's see what's going on here.
Do we want to finish up QB with Bryce and try to backstack him? Or do we want to get our RB4 here?
I kind of would rather have Geno, honestly.
Let's grab Geno then. Yeah.
Or do you want to push Geno? We can take someone else first and then push Geno.
Geno's not coming back around.
Okay, let's just go Geno, and then we're just done at QB, and we can worry about other stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
I feel pretty good about our wide receiver room. Obviously, we're done at tight end. If we want to be, we can still grab some running backs coming up here that we like, and we have Jacobs as the anchor. So yeah.
I'm right around like 4 to 6 range right now. For those that aren't aware, I really jacked up my shoulder last year, and so we've spent a year non-surgically resting and rehabbing, trial and errors through that, and just in the last 30-ish days have I gotten to a place where I've gone multiple days and multiple weeks without shoulder impingement or pain after a workout. So it feels like we're finally back to like good enough, not enough, not too much clicking, not too much, no pain afterwards. So now we're actually really getting to get back in there and push it as we rehab all of the fun little muscles and tendons in the upper shoulder and trap and scapula and chest area to get back to where we're going. So it's been a slow, miserable grind, but luckily we're finally back where we started a year ago.
Yeah, that's a good feeling, man. That's good for you. Yeah, that's like injuries are the worst. It's just like hard to overcome that. So.
I told my wife, I was like, dude, imagine how jacked I'm going to be in 10 years when I get on TRT.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't agree that flat bench is bad for the shoulder. I mean, flat bench is I've been rehabbing with cables, with dumbbells, and with flat and incline. I think it's all about pre-warm up and then just all the slow rehab, stretching, strengthening, and then retraining your body in the way it needs to go and not the way it was overcompensating. Much like our best ball, it's kind of having to go back to the drawing board, reevaluate process, reevaluate, what's valuable, what's realistic to target. And that's just, you gotta, sometimes go back to basics. But to recap for the audio listeners, of which there are many, I'm sure, through 14 rounds with a 3-3-6-2 build, Tua, Cam Ward, and Geno at quarterback, running back, Josh Jacobs, Caleb Johnson, Jordan Mason. I'm liking how we built that out in order to catch up at quarterback. Brian Thomas, Rashee Rice, Jalen Waddle, Calvin Ridley, Matt Golden, Christian Kirk at wide receiver, and Brock Bowers, David Njoku as our lone tight ends, with Matt Stafford being the one quarterback floating around in the player pool. This is going to be running back or receiver, depending on what we want to do here. And I think we've got plenty of options I like. I know someone in the chat compared Ollie Gordon to a genital wart, hoping that was a joke, because I do think at these prices, he's still an interesting player that kind of comps to James Conner in a very fun way. Corum, Braylon, Damian Martinez, Ollie Gordon, do any of these guys make sense to take right now, or is there a receiver in this range?
I think it would be Corum or Ayumanner for me. Ayumanner looking probably to get second round draft capital. Blake Corum direct handcuff to Kyron. I say we go Blake Corum. Yeah,
let's say Corum. I don't have a ton of Corum, but at 177 as almost the likeliest contingent back, I like that play a lot. Structurally, McVay seems to like him. We've seen rookies have weird single seasons. I think it was their intention to get Corum more involved, to have like a series to himself every few series, but then the offensive line literally imploded and exploded at the beginning of the season, helping no one. So they kind of just had to go back to basics and rely on what they needed to rely on. So this year, everybody being healthy might set Corum up for a little bit more success in year 2. That said, there's talk about boosting and getting Kyron's extension done. So they still like Kyron, but Corum as a contingent play at 177 is, I mean, those are the types of picks you make.
Yeah, it's just a solid bet there, right? Not sexy, but gets the job done.
I'm not mad about Pierce, but I think I'd prefer the rookie and Royals.
Yeah, we can go Royals.
I mean, Pierce is a little after 80. It's 10 picks past 80 picks. I'd rather, I think at this point in the draft, I want to chase upside. So let's go Royals.
Yeah, no. I mean, I think we have enough safe guys that we can take those shots.
I mentioned this earlier, but I do want to just tell the fine folks that may be new to the channel and haven't checked it out. We have a bunch of pre-recorded videos in the last 2 months on all of these players. Royals specifically, really fun, really interesting prospect profile. Check out the video on that. Check out the video that dropped this morning. Rich and Tom sat down with Dwayne about the supermodel, and got to talk through some of the his favorite players he wanted to talk through based on the supermodel. Really fun video, quick, concise, some really nice tidbits. So if you haven't checked out that video, highly recommend it. Let me throw it in the chat. I'll be nice and make everybody's lives easier. If you want to go check that out, you want to be up to date on all your information and what these players' upsides and downsides are like. What types of things in their arsenal. And Royals just a guy that with the right landing spot. His prospect profile is very interesting. Could potentially be a round 2, round 3 receiver, and in best ball, it's like if he's a crisp route runner with some explosiveness and some good hands, it's the guy I want to be on. So check that video out with the rookie supermodel with Dwayne, Tom, and Rich. What's up, Mountain Man? Welcome to the chat.
Yeah, I'm always down to watch a video about a supermodel.
Exactly. Let's see. Robert said this team needed RB points. We take Allen, who may have a role, versus Corum, who's a handcuff. I kind of disagree with that.
Yeah, I disagree.
I think every running back in the Jets room right now is fragile. They could bring in new guys in the draft, and really depending on how it shakes out. I understand Braylon's got a little bit more upside and being evaluated, but he wasn't better than Isaiah Davis. He's just younger and big. I think Corum's role is safer, and I think with Josh Jacobs, Jordan Mason, and Caleb, I disagree that we needed points. I think we've got points wrapped up based on our thesis. Ollie Gordon coming back around. You into that?
Absolutely, at this cost, yeah.
I was kind of low on Braylon Allen last year. He just wasn't that good in advanced metrics in his last college season, kind of like Corum. And we kind of just ignored that and said, well, he's so young. And by we, I mean Davis. So I want to invest in guys and mix it up. And I don't want to just auto Braylon, because that's how we ended up with, leg up subscribers ended up with like 40% Isaiah Davis, or no, it was Izzy Abanikanda last year.
Yeah. We're at what, 5 running backs now?
No, we probably don't want to do that. Justice Hill is that points guy. Brashard Smith is the fun upside play. I don't really have a strong lean at receiver.
Let's go Justice.
That's how it's done. It's a pro streamer move right there, boys. So instead of reaching for the Braylon projected points, we get the Justice Hill projected points, who, better offense. Role includes targets, which are just more valuable than carries. And in Todd Monken's offense, Justice has a role, and that role continues to be just like potential explosive pass plays in a very good offense. And at this range of the draft, I don't mind taking a swing for a guy who did provide plenty of double-digit spike weeks for us last year.
Yeah, help fill in for some of those rookies. Feels good.
Scott saying, I'm wondering the Jennings, Diggs, Myers, Ridley rankings. So you're asking rank, and I'm assuming best ball or redraft, rank Jennings, Diggs, Myers, Ridley. I'll let you go first, Bendels. What would be your personal rankings of these four receivers?
Yeah, I'm going Jennings. I think I'm going Jennings, Ridley, Myers, Diggs, which I believe is what ADP is, but I could be wrong. I don't know, man. I don't like 31 or 32-year-old coming off an ACL. Like, I get he has a pretty open room, but don't love that. Ridley is just probably gonna get peppered with targets. And still a good player. I'm a big Jakobi Meyers stan, so that's I just think he's a good player with Geno. That's a good fit there. And then still pretty bullish on Jennings in that San Francisco offense and them having to bounce back. I think he's a talented player, showed what kind of upside he can have last year. And I don't know. We don't know what's going to happen with Ayuk, but I think regardless, he's a good click there.
I think Jennings stands out as definitely the best like floor ceiling talent guy, given age as well. And I'd say I'm higher on Diggs than most people are if he plays the perimeter role, not the slot role. He was better in EPA there than he was in the slot. That's his better preferred role. So I'd probably say for like true upside, I'd probably go Jennings, Diggs, Ridley, Myers. I like Myers a lot, but he's probably at best the second target in his offense. Those other guys have the potential to be the number one target in their offense.
Fair.
Ridley, probably the worst. Ridley and Diggs have the most like offensive downside risk in total scoring. So that's how I'd kind of rank it from an upside perspective. Last two picks here. I think double stacking Geno makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, let's do that.
So we go Trey Tucker here, double stack Geno as my lawn guys choose of all day to show up to mow my lawn right now on stream. So I hope y'all don't hear the lawn people and my dogs barking, but I'm sure you do. Robert saying Ridley seems like a positive touchdown regression candidate. I mean, I think I agree with that in the sense that I believe that O-line and quarterback have, pretty nice odds to at least get to league average good, which would be a pretty big boost from what Levis was, which was really, really bad last year.
Yeah, Levis and Rudolph is not good for your receiver production.
What up, dog? Scott saying thanks, feel the same, but I've seen Diggs going before, all in best ball and DK. Yeah, and I think that's probably overly aggressive about his age and injury. I'm not too worried about the injury because I think rehabbing a cleaning cell is fine. Do you want to go a ninth receiver or a running back here?
I kind of want to go a ninth receiver.
Let's go ninth receiver.
I kind of like Torrey Horton. Is there anything else that makes sense here?
I don't really like Naylor.
You good?
Horton, another rookie in Horton's more than fine.
Yeah, I mean,
speed. I don't have a lot of them at this point, and I don't want to have none of a rookie who could just get better draft capital than we think.
Yeah, no, this is it's an interesting team. I like the mix we got at receiver. Getting Jacobs as our anchor feels really nice, and we get a good mix of kind of rookies and really solid handcuff guys. QBs aren't super sexy, but I think stacked up, three stacked quarterbacks feels really good. And then obviously Bowers and Njoku, pretty grown ass man tight end room. So
yeah, and I think you got the upside in Tua in Miami outproducing, and that seems like maybe the likeliest bet of the quarterback room is just like, hey, last year was kind of a bad fluke with the offensive line and everything involved. Yeah, I like this team. I like the construction, and I think we hammered things all right, despite the room kind of bleeding it dry at the fun receiver clicks. I won't be surprised if we like Shaheed's boom weeks more than Kirk's, but Kirk doing that Diggs role was something that was pretty valuable in their offense in the green zone and the red zone. Yeah, nice. As Vapor saying, smash the like, fun draft. Thanks for hosting. Of course, Little Miss Brady. Thinking drafters, it already filled. So, if we want to give the people a second draft here, I'll go ahead and jump us in another one for time's sake because the gym waits for no one. Waiting on one. So one person will get in, and then we'll do a quick recap of the other one for all 2 audio listeners because I'm such a good person. Appreciate everybody hanging out. Make sure to name this. Man, time flies. Already April 7th.
I know, dude. I feel like it was just January. It's crazy.
All right, so we finished with a 3-6-9-2. Tua, Cam Ward, Geno Smith at quarterback, running back, Josh Jacobs, Caleb Johnson, Jordan Mason, Blake Corum, Ollie Gordon, Justice Hill. A lot of value in this draft and a lot of solid guys for solid targets. I dig it a lot. Brian Thomas, Rashee Rice, Jalen Waddle, Calvin Ridley, Matthew Golden, Christian Kirk, Jalen Royals, Trey Tucker, Torrey Horton. Nice mix of receivers. And like you said, Brock Bowers, David Njoku after ADP feels very fun. Some really solid ceilings with very, very set, safe floors. And we have filled our second draft. Little Miss Brady got her way into a second one. My goodness.
Wow.
Playing the lottery today.
We're
Just
good.
nailing it. Shout out everybody hanging out once again. I want to say thank you for joining us this wonderful Monday as we get the 5 spot in our second draft.
Nice.
Also, check out Bendels, his channel, Best Ball with Bendels, or I think it's actually, let me just get the channel and drop it. Bop, bop, bop. You just did a Dynasty Rankings video with a very fun guest and a 2-parter.
Yeah, we had some technical issues. I was streaming from a undisclosed location with not great Wi-Fi, so had to break it up into 2 streams. But Ferris, he's a really great guy. I've known him for a few years. He's extremely deep in the dynasty space, and he, very analytical thinking, really smart guy. Always value his opinion. I'm going to try to do. Obviously, we're a few weeks before the draft, so wanted to just kind of get pre-draft rankings in there, and then post-draft we'll get another one with him. And then I'm also going to try to get some other big names on to talk some dynasty stuff. And might do some drafters drafts as well. I know you guys are starting to do some drafters drafts, so might hop in the streets for that, since that's the only thing I can draft right now. So.
Do you want to go Bijan here, or do you want to pull up a wide receiver here?
Let's go Bijan. Let's take the value. I think he can have a pretty monster season and finish as the RB1, and we can all envision that. And definitely, if he falls there, especially, just take him.
Yeah, his role to close the season was extremely, extremely solid. The goal line was there. The offense could, be more efficient and higher scoring week to week than we saw last year with a hobbled shoulder and Achilles Kirk Cousins. So I think his true upside is just like really good role, really good player, pass work, rushing work, goal line work. Tyler Algier and his work is not going anywhere. They've confirmed they just like to spell the guy, and Algier's good enough they don't want to take him off the field all the time. But the role is going to be probably like top 7 in the season, and that's just a guy that is going to be just a standalone talent and role very good.
Yeah, young elite talent, elite role. Don't overthink it.
Well, Colin, as a Houston Cougar alumni, I am putting everything on the line for my Cougs. I want Kelvin Sampson to get what he deserves. I'm just also happy that they're finally in the big dance. First time since 1984. What's up, Travioli? Haven't seen you in a while. Good to see you. Appreciate everybody joining. If you are joining late, because it is everybody getting off of work or getting home, whatever. Appreciate everybody. Just hit the like. Mentioned, go check out Bendel's channel. Hit the subscribe. He's gonna have a bunch of awesome dynasty content. Probably gonna jump into the drafter streets And if you're new to Drafters, promo code Sanctuary gets you, for new users, $100 up to $100 bonus, 100% match. You can use that promo code. You can also use, after the stream, I'll put the referral link in the description. Check that out. Get your free money. Really fun platform. The mobile is very good for drafters. And I love utilizing the draft room chat function. That's always a good time. Got to talk some shit. You get sniped and have a little crash out in the draft room chat. Some wild stuff goes down there. Really, really fun platform. And then PPR, full scoring, cumulative season. So somewhere you can really hedge your bets with some of your, stronger season long takes, where you can be right first 14 weeks, but then, the playoff gauntlet hits and, you can get unlucky there. You might be able to realize your edge over in the season long. So I like playing both cases, for the off chance that you're mostly right, but not perfect. And you're just trying to unearth those league winners.
Yeah, it's good to switch it up. I enjoy drafters, and glad you guys are doing some of those.
But yeah, hoping it's just a good game tonight between these two teams, because no one wants a blowout. All right, we are on the clock. JT, Tyreek Hill, Bucky, JSN, T. Higgins.
Oh, this is weird. I kind of like T. Higgins.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's get a good offense, good wide receiver stealing type of guy, and we'll likely like whoever it is in the third round at running back or other.
Yeah, I mean, I think, we saw the Cincy defense isn't probably going to get very much better with just the cap situation and everything going on. So
could be worse in the league.
Yeah, exactly. And you have Joe Burrow, probably the most fantasy friendly quarterback for receivers, and you always have that contingent upside if Chase were to go down. I don't know. I feel like whatever. Either way, they're going to have crazy pass volume, bad defense, good quarterback, good receivers, good bet to make there. So,
not really seeing anything odd that's happening in the draft so far besides CMC Brock Bowers at the turn, which
I don't hate it.
I don't mind it. Apparently, my injury stance on CMC was maybe a little too strong. Trying to adjust. It is hard. He can go wherever in the draft.
Yeah, I like that. I like that BTJ Genty and
Drake London's been falling, and that's been odd. I wonder if people are bored of taking him in the top, 4 picks of the second round, but I've been enjoying it. I think I got a Saquon Drake London team from the 5 spot the other day that felt very nice. And T. Higgins came in the 3rd. I was like, oh my God.
Wow.
What a print fest. Can't wait for this to totally bottom out.
We saw Ladd go at the 1-2 turn in the last draft, and then he goes above, pick 15 or something right there as well. So people coming around on Ladd, it looks like, at least in these 2 drafts in small sample size. So
Bucky falling back around makes me very okay with that.
Yeah, let's do it.
I understand, though, if you want Trey McBride.
Ooh, I kind of want Trey McBride, honestly.
Let's get Trey McBride.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm very in on McBride. So we're starting the same way as we did last time with 1 running back, 1 receiver, and 1 tight end. So,
and you know what? Balanced builds that allow you to just play the draft room is not a bad thing, especially on a stream draft where people can get really hungry at a position. You're less likely to be like totally screwed if you miss that. You're less likely to miss the boat.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. Any other weird starts here?
Travioli saying he was in the bigger board in Pete's Best Ball Breakfast stream earlier, and the 101 drafter managed to pull off grabbing Burrow. That's the thing. In the big board, I think I've gotten it twice where I've gotten Burrow to come all the way back around with Chase and T. So it's like I understand taking him sometimes at that ADP 48, 50, but it's like those teams that get those 2 extra picks at running back, receiver, or tight end are just so much stronger projected teams. I'm always going to try to push it, especially when Burrow goes over Hurts. Like season long, I just can't get on board with that. No. And then from a weekly ceiling, Hurts is probably going to outproject Burrow most weeks. simply because of the rushing. So it's like I'm not going to end up with a lot of Burrow, and I'm hoping his price adjusts a bit. Because when ADP did come out, some of these guys have just been anchored to that.
Absolutely.
Burrow, one of those guys where like he was, he's not really fallen more than like 7 picks past his initial ADP, I believe.
Yeah, it's just weird. Yeah, it's with Chase going whatever first or second most drafts. It's like people just get so looped in to taking him there where the ADP is anchored. So it's going to be hard. Yeah, so many tight end options. Bucky's that. Yeah, I mean,
I like Bucky. I'm almost always taking him in the 3rd round. I think one of the things that you could argue though is that in a single week, I think there are so many good pockets of running back, and there's some really good prices of running back where I like Bucky a lot, but they're also not going to stop utilizing 2 running backs. So from like a pure volume standpoint, Hampton's probably a better pick. If he's a 1st round running back for like total volume. Bucky's very, very good, but he's going to be very efficient on like 18 to 20 touches max. Whereas a guy like Hampton could get like 25 plus. Also, if the dog barking gets out of hand, let me know. I can hear it. I don't know how much y'all can hear.
It's not that bad.
Okay. I know it's been triggering to other people on the street. But I do think it's valuable because like McBride's price would be so much more expensive if he just got like 3 more touchdowns, and his red zone targets were not exactly low. So with touchdown regression to the mean, he's probably going like back to back with Brock Bowers in like, the early 2nd round. So whereas Bucky, I think he would have to get volume in order to push up that high from a market standpoint. And from that perspective, and I also think an anchor elite tight end allows you more flexibility and more ceiling in the playoffs than, an early 2nd running back.
Ooh, let's go. You want to go Smith or Hampton?
We just talked about Hampton.
Hampton.
So getting him after the 3-4 turn feels fantastic.
Yeah,
and
no, I completely agree.
That's why I feel okay passing on Bucky, because it's like one of these like Mixon, Chubas, Kamara has been falling. One of the rookies, like there are really good bets to match or go above Bucky.
Yeah,
in like a archetype perspective. I like Smith, but Smith has been falling. I've been in a couple drafts where I've gotten him at 52, or other people have gotten him at 52, 53. So
okay,
I'm willing to just take the risers and just see who falls, because someone's.
No, I think that I agree, because like if you're looking at the 2v2 for Hampton and then the receivers that go in the next few rounds versus Smith and then the running backs, right? Like I'm definitely going Hampton and the other receivers. They're not going to score that much different.
Hey, come here. Come here. Shh. She really does not like the lawn guys. I don't know what to tell you. I try to get they usually come in the morning. They're supposed to come in the morning. They're not supposed to come at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Oh, look at
That's
you.
okay.
Yes, ma'am. No, this is Maple, and she really hates lawn people. She specifically hates trucks and lawn mowers. So we've got it. And then it's just, people on her turf. Pyrenees does not like loud people on her turf, but we got it. Hello, baby girl. Yes, I know. I need a dog cam.
That could be
Brady saying it's not outrageous to think that McBride and Chase Brown could outscore Bowers and Bucky. I mean, I feel like you can say that about a lot of combos. Like, especially if we think of it from a finals standpoint. Final week, who do you need? Who knows what the right order of players would be if you only drafted for like how they perform in the final week or just in the playoffs in general?
Let's see here. We got some. Yeah, and I'm sorry. One more thing on the tight ends. I was like, I think, and I believe it was Gretsch was talking about this, where elite tight end obviously didn't work out last year. And it's like the elite tight ends that really matter are the ones that can just absolutely lap the field. And I think Bowers and McBride both are young, talented, right? Have good enough quarterbacks where we can project them to just go absolutely nuclear and whatever outscore the tight end 3 or 4 or whatever by like
Yeah.
a crazy amount. And so that's why I'm willing to take McBride there. So
Very
let's go Godwin.
fine.
That's what I was thinking as well.
Okay, perfect. We're in such synchronous.
Mind meld.
All right. Come here, baby girl. Come here, baby girl. Sit. Sit. All right, folks. This is my olive branch. Okay, you heard her barking. Now you get to see her. Yeah.
This is the wholesome content we need out here in today's world.
You got to see my dog and my basket of laundry. This is real life stuff, guys. All right. I still think the elite tight end is a viable thing, especially when it comes to just like volume. Guys like Bowers and McBride are they're gonna project for so much volume every single week from a targets perspective, a red zone perspective, and then both potentially, and McBride potentially having the better scoring offense. There's a chance that they are a top 12 efficient offense. I think McBride has a lot to win in that it's not likely to add any huge, like he's the main target guy on his offense. It's not likely to go away anytime soon. He's the target alpha in that offense. He can run better on touchdowns. The offense can run better in passing volume or efficiency. And that could also happen with just like the run game, potentially, getting older in James Conner. So, if they miss any time or, if Petzig figures out the offense, I think there's a lot of ways that McBride himself, could just end up being the Kittle, Kelsey, Ertz, like prime years of like, these guys are locked into the top 3 rounds because of what they offer you week in and week out and season long.
Yes.
Are we saying Milrow? Wait.
Milton's on the Cowboys now. She's saying, should you handcuff your quarterback?
Yeah, you gotta handcuff your. No, we don't handcuff our quarterbacks, especially with guys who might not be very good. One thing, his game looked really impressive. It was against backups. Now, I think it meant more than a preseason game, but it's also one game. We've seen a lot of dudes look good for one game. We've seen a lot of dudes never look good for one game. But no, I don't think handcuffing your quarterback is a smart thing, especially because, I think Cooper Rush offered something really interesting. Kept the ship afloat much better than we would have thought, but it still wasn't as good week in and week out than it would have been with Dak. And so by doing that, you're kind of like, you're buying into more pieces of a less efficient sunken offense. And I don't think that's a good process.
I concur there.
Good girl. Yeah.
Yeah, DK I don't know. DK going there. I mean, it's probably fine, but I feel like I like Sutton, Tet, Olave, Addison, probably Jennings more.
We saw this happen with Pickens, where it's like the volume alone was such a hindrance to being good, because he might only see 4 targets a game.
Yeah. I mean, obviously he can have some spike weeks, but just from season long projection standpoint, it's hard to come to terms with that.
Bijan, Hampton, T. Higgins, Chris Godwin, Trey McBride are 5 picks so far. Coming up on our 6th round pick here. Probably not doing tight end with an elite anytime soon.
Oof, kind of wanted Judy there. I'm not a huge fan of Reed at this cost.
Do we just want to kind of dip our toes into the Travis Hunter and figure it out? Or was that too aggressive for you?
No, let your nuts hang. Let's do it.
Yeah. Let's get slightly over 8% as we close the contest. If he's a strong bet to go 2, he's a strong bet to get a lot of volume and very likely more efficient with it than Jerry Jeudy. So at this point, it is what it is. I don't mind it. Here's the thing with Reed. Reed last year had the perfect run out to truly capitalize on growing his role, becoming more efficient, and the passing offense, running more through him. I still like him in best ball. I just hate his price. I really do, because I think you're locking into like he is a very similar player as Josh Downs, who does not go anywhere close to the top 75 players, because he's locked into 60 to 85% of the snaps and the routes as a slot only guy. They've just not used him as a perimeter guy. They use him in packages. They've gone away from him. Like, it's the whole offense is very matchup dependent. And the only guys that really see all the snaps and all the routes are the perimeter guys. That's why I do think Wicks and Dobbs are undervalued, because Christian Watson's going to miss all that time. They earned a lot of volume, much more volume week in and week out than Reed, and they play more consistent roles in this offense and have more valuable roles. I think it's an anchoring thing. Reed should not be this expensive. I don't want to have none, but I certainly don't think he has the same season-long and weekly ceiling as some of these other true X wide receiver 1 types.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's no reason he should be going above Burden and Egbuka, and even maybe Golden, just given the fact that they're all pretty much locks to go. I kind of like Egbuka.
I'm very good with Egbuka here.
I don't know. I'm just really bullish on Egbuka. I think, I think Ron Stewart and some other really smart dynasty people have comped him to Chris Godwin. I think that's a really good comp. Amon-Ra St. Brown, actually, whatever. Obviously, Amon-Ra St. Brown is what he is, but coming out, his athletic profile wasn't as strong as Egbuka's. Very similar archetype, mostly slot, but I don't think we should preclude him from playing outside just because he was at Ohio State. He was always with these insanely talented other receivers that are pretty much all first round picks. So I think he's going to be mostly a slot player, but just similar to Godwin, like I think he will be able to play outside if he needs to in a part-time role. So I'm pretty high on him. I just think he's not as sexy as a Burden or even as a Golden with the possible draft capital being higher. But I just think you're going to feel good about drafting Egbuka, especially at this cost. So
yeah. Welcome in, Mr. Magic. What up? Drop a like. Appreciate you. This is very funny, Joshua. Wicks is so good from the wrist up. The thing is, drops are not sticky, and it's funny. They keep comparing him to Devontae Adams, who had similar problems his first couple of years of like route running and then drops. But Wicks' ability to separate is extremely good, and his target earning is very good. So I think, and here's the problem with it, is that you can bet on Reed being the most talented and having a year 3 leap, but you kind of need that just for his price not to be egregious. Whereas Dubs and Tucker and Wicks all have such cheaper prices that have much more margin for error, but also much more benefit to hitting the upside. Reed kind of has to get more work just to be worth that role, or he has to be insanely efficient. We've seen that cut both ways with guys like Debo and others who rely so heavily on the efficiency. And if it's not there, it's really, really inhibitive to your team putting up a lot of good points. And then, obviously a lot of the rookies on DraftKings are going to be much, much cheaper and more available than Underdog. That's just how it is. DK drafters and ADP tend to kind of fade the guys they haven't seen play. The thing about Egbuka, I do like Egbuka a lot. And the thing is, we don't know what his true role is or his true ceiling. So it's the black box that you mentioned. We're saying he's slot only, but a lot of players that, we have said, they go into this box. And that's not necessarily what teams do. That's not necessarily how the players go. Amon-Ra was kind of like that. He projected to be slot only until he was so explosive and so effective in his rookie year that they used him all over the place. And then he smashed because he was just very good and run the offense through him. So it's hard to know exactly what his role is going to be, but his upside could be a full-time player. And if that is it, and he's a sneaky first round or very high second round pick, a la Ladd McConkey. Ladd McConkey, slot only, all of a sudden, he's versatile inside outside, just like his college profile suggested. And then that just made his ADP so much easier to stomach because, his upside is that he's running all the routes and a good target earner and very efficient and smashes ADP. So
yeah, I just think he's we see Egbuka, Burden, and Golden go back to back to back, and I just think he's the best combination of floor ceiling combo. Like I think his floor is super high, and I think people
Agreed.
wouldn't perceive his ceiling to be high, but I actually think it is. Like if you're talking about a Chris Godwin, Amon-Ra St. Brown type guy, that's a high ceiling, right? Like it's not through maybe what you would envision, but let's see here.
We grab Kyler as our quarterback stack. The Marv drafters at the turn, so probably grab Kyler here for
Yeah,
our
let's grab Kyler, yeah.
and figure it out on the turn. Quarterback, tight end, especially when it's an elite tight end, and especially if the touchdowns do regress, that's gonna, capturing that from Kyler and McBride stack is going to be a lot of EV for this roster. Charles, I know anytime you get Bendels, friend of all the channels on stream, it's always a good time. Joshua asking, what happened to all the talk about this being a weak wide receiver class? Were they wrong in the beginning, or is this a Minnesota 7 situation we got going on? I have thoughts, but you're a dynasty bro, so I want to give you kind of the floor here to field that question if you'd like.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've just been spoiled with kind of the wide receiver class, the past few wide receiver classes, and I think the guys that are going in the first round, Igbuka, Burden, Golden, Tet, Hunter. I mean, I think they're solid enough. I think a few shows ago we were comping them to like the Zay Flowers, QJ, Jordan Addison. They all kind of, and JSN. They all kind of went in the 4 picks in a row or something like that. So I mean, I think they're similar to that tier of guys. So I mean, I wouldn't say it's not necessarily weak at the top. It doesn't have those top tier blue chip prospects. I mean, I think Hunter could be that if he is a full-time wide receiver. But then after that, I think, I mean, there's guys I like, a Jalen Knoll, a few others, but I think it falls off pretty steeply after those projected first round guys. Whereas I feel like a lot of times we're looking at those second round guys and we're pretty excited about, sometimes there's good profiles. They might have one wart and they fall to the second round and they get a good landing spot. We see that all the time. And I just don't see guys that I'm like, oh my God, I'm super excited to draft these guys if they're second rounders. So yeah, still solid enough at the top. But then I think it falls off pretty sharply.
Feels like these 3 guys probably stand out. We've got correlations with 2 of them. Do you feel strongly about which one of these? I think I'm McMillan here for the Bucks correlation, but I'm okay with any of these.
Yeah, that's fine. I was gonna push for Shaheed since I know he's your guy, but I'm down to go McMillan. Yeah.
I normally I think the price at this point is fine because similar type of year 2 player. I think at this price now, it's just as ambiguous what all the roles are going to be. We don't know exactly what Chris Godwin's recovery is going to be. I've noted this in the past. We have a few new subscribers and new folks to the channel. So quick recap on Godwin, that he had an ankle injury, and one of 2 things per the doctors that know are going to happen. He's either there's no ligament damage and he's going to be like normal return to form, or there was ligament damage and it could be a lengthy, slow recovery process, not too dissimilar from an ACL as far as like how many weeks it takes to rehab and really regain previous efficiency and physical explosion and mobility, in which case it might take him to like week 4, 6, 8 to really get back to where he was physically, considering he's also, 30 and over, slowing that progression down. So there's a chance that, Godwin takes time to regain that true efficiency. Volume helps offset some of that lessened efficiency. McMillan could benefit from that. I didn't love McMillan's price early on, but at this point in the draft, it's still an attachment to a potential top 12 offense and passing offense, especially. We did not take Bucky, so we're taking players who could benefit in any given week and season when Bucky does not. We also already invested in the offense. Investing more in the offense is a good correlated bet. There's a chance that McMillan, while he wasn't as that really efficient in yards per route run and targets per route run last year, he did demonstrate he could pick up that kind of volume. I think it's more likely he gets a lot of the volume than a guy like Otten. especially going into year 2. He could definitely just be more efficient on the deep work he got. His role was pretty valuable, even with Evans and Godwin healthy with deep stuff. He just dropped. I mean, he dropped 3 touchdowns week 1. So there's the potential that he does just hit, and this Bucs offense is just explosive because Evans, Godwin, and McMillan are all healthy. They're catching everything. They're just airing it out, and this is just a top 5 offense. That's not all the way priced in at this price. McMillan just could be more efficient. And then if Godwin or Evans miss any amount of time, we know that McMillan will consolidate a lot of that work to himself. So at that price, I have more trust that offense is going to be very, very strong, and his role could be better than we think. I think Mooney's role is a little, I'm still having some trouble with his role in the Penix offense. I think it's very likely they add more receiving depth to this roster, especially in the slot position. They could replace Pitts, so the tight end could be a better target earner. I think the only pieces I feel very strongly in the Atlanta offense are London and Bijan. Everybody else, big question mark. And then Shaheed, he's returning from an ACL. I feel good about his ability to do that. But again, it's McMillan has a much cleaner slate coming into this and a clearer path to smashing, I think, at that price. And as someone that was fading him in his current price, I think this is the time to buy.
Yeah, that's a good case.
Charbonnet comes all the way back around, and I don't really love Keon or Hollywood, but Mason is also available here as well.
Yeah, kind of similar bets. I like both. Let's go Sharps with the ADP.
All right, we're going with Sharps. Sharps' upside is probably higher in that we've seen Charbonnet consolidate all of the contingent work, including getting between 3 and 5 targets a game. And we touched on this in the first draft that we just don't expect Mason. If you play underdog pick'ems, that week in and week out, Mason, his projected targets were 0.5 per game, whereas Charbonnet was anywhere from 2.5 to 3.5. So that's very valuable from that standpoint. There was a slight chance we got Mason. Unfortunately, he goes right after. But Charbonnet at this price, very fine. Contingent back. They're going to run the piss out of the football. The Kubiak has made that very, very clear. Him coming in seems like the versatility is going to be a little bit better. So, and he's just a strong contingent back. I won't be surprised if we somehow see them add another random running back to this room. I don't think they can afford to do that considering they need to shore up the line. And they also have every reason to take a quarterback given the way they've structured Sam Darnold's contract to be a potential 1 year out with only $17 million dead cap in year 2. What is up, Memphis Piss Boy? Hello, fellow Piss fam. I do mostly piss off stream these days.
Yeah, it's not like it used to be.
It's 2025. You can't piss on stream like you used to. It's not incentivized to do so.
All right.
We're Colston Loveland going, kind of a bummer. I haven't gotten a lot of him either, just for structural reasons.
It's a weird range. Yeah, and I mean,
I'm taking quarterback.
Yeah, it's really weird.
He seems like a lock for the first round, though, which is what makes it really scary.
All right. Let's see. We got Kyler. We don't have any stacks or anything for quarterback. We can backstack one of these guys if you want.
I don't love any of these guys, but I think Drake might. You know what? No, fuck it. Let's do Herbert.
Learn Quentin Johnston, buddy.
Yeah, well, they haven't added anybody. And it doesn't seem like they are going to add anybody of consequence. I think the FUD on LA was unfounded last year. They were regularly a top 10 pass rate over expected offense outside the first few weeks. Greg Roman predictably used Justin Herbert's legs very effectively, and Herbert hit really high ceilings in this offense. You'd like to have him with Ladd, unfortunately, but we also saw plenty of this offense be very matchup based. We've already got some rookies on this team that could be finding their ways onto this Chargers offense. I don't mind QJ and his role at his price, it seems like he has a very specific role in this offense, and it's take advantage of mismatches and score touchdowns as a big body. Two tight ends late in, I believe, Disley and Conklin. I'm a big Conklin guy. And then this is, they took Najee. They could absolutely take a rookie running back, probably a position we'll add to this team. So as far as like phantom stacks, but Herbert's got some rushing upside, and they also are a team that has oddball touchdown weirdness, and more so than some other teams, just the way they attack offensive matchups. We've seen this with Greg Roman offenses a lot. So yeah, very, very fine there.
I don't think this is what has been. I think Hampton is projected to go higher recently, but Hampton could fall to the Chargers. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibilities too. So we could luck box into that as well. So
yeah, I think Norris thinks that there's a pretty realistic chance he goes after pick 19 or 20, which puts him really in range of the Chargers.
Yeah, I feel like it was getting pretty frothy there for a while, but yeah, I'm just looking at an athletic.
It was the Cowboys' overreaction, and I'm like, the Cowboys know they cannot afford to take RB2 at 12, given the needs of this team.
Yeah, I'm looking at an athletic mock right now, and Hampton to the Chargers at 22. Like, I think that's like around where Najee went. I feel like that makes more sense than like in the teens.
Yeah, I think Chargers or Denver stand out as the likeliest spots, in my opinion.
I agree.
Candyman dropping knowledge. Sharp as a bell cow at UCLA, had a receiving grade just below Gibbs and Bijan from PFF. And we've kind of seen that in the NFL. He's been a more effective pass down back than Walker, and that's why he's never gone away. Walker's never – I think he's gotten like 80% of the running back touches like once or twice, simply because like Sharps is very good at what he does. And he's also a pretty effective rusher. Who did it? Who did it, you bastards? Fuck you, Cade.
You want to go?
Jaden Higgins is another guy that, let's just take a rookie quarterback. Jesus. Rookie wide receiver dart. If the Chargers do take a guy, it's probably a perimeter guy, since Ladd and QJ are kind of utilized as like pseudo, move them in, run them out through the slot types of guys. Higgins seems like he's just been rising steadily as a guy who's just like locked into the second round. Has his warts, but could be like a T Higgins-esque type of big body. Won't be surprised if he finds his way onto, like the Seahawks in round 1, the Chiefs in round 1, or someone very high up in round 2, the Patriots, whatever. So seems like he's one of the few big body speed guys available in this class, willing to take that shot at top 40 draft capital potential.
Yeah, he flipped it earlier in the draft season. It was Trey Harris, who was kind of that big body guy that people were getting hyped up about, and now the tides have turned and it's Higgins. And yeah, like I said, not a super sexy profile, but he's going to go in the second round and could sneak in, like you said, to the first round, and that's a good bet there. So we're talking about pairing him with Herbert, and if he does go there, you can see kind of a Mike Williams comp there, kind of a big body jump ball type guy. Which
Cardinals, you can also take him. Cardinals need someone to take up that second. Like Michael Wilson's fine, but if they decide they want to try to push him, they absolutely could. What's up, Charlie? I always love it when he comes in and calls me pretty. Our game plan for quarterbacks probably going to be late.
Yeah, I agree.
And I'm comfortable with that. I am comfortable with that.
Yeah, I'm definitely comfortable with Kyler and Herbert.
This is an interesting spot. We could take RB4. We could take wide receiver 7. I don't mind really Leggett or Dobbs. Do you have a strong lean?
No, I'm good with either one of those guys. Or wait, where does Knoll go?
173. But if you want to take him here, I won't fight you.
I just feel like he's a better pick. I'm going to be
Let's
completely
take Noel.
honest.
Another great profile that we on the Fantasy Sanctuary have profiled. So hit those videos, check it out. Mention Dwayne McFarland. Tom and Rich all sat down to talk about his rookie supermodel and some fun players and notes on that. But also go check out all of the very quick 4 and 6 minute player profile videos on all these rookies, including Noel. Yeah, hard to quibble with just like rookie guys that could go in the second round, who have really, really strong prospect profiles. Tell me what you like about Noel.
Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah. Well, I mean, why we're taking him over those guys? I'll start with that. I mean, I'd kind of rather take the black box of this guy is probably likely to go in the second round and could just give us that rookie upside versus the guys who obviously Dobbs isn't super high ceiling guy, and Leggett didn't really do that much in his rookie year. So just the black box there, I think it's just a higher upside shot. And yeah, he's a really exciting guy, very explosive, good route runner. And all the quote experts, I know JJ Zachariason was extremely high on him on a recent pod that I was listening to. Ron Stewart, very high on him. So just people that I respect around the industry are singing his praises, and so I'm going to try to listen to that.
There's a lot to like about him, and for the rookies, I don't think there's a price that's bad given good like this late in the draft. I don't think you quibble with ADPs. I think Dubs is a strong process pick from even if they add a perimeter guy. That's to replace Watson. It's not to replace Dobbs. And we know it in our bones that they're not going to invest first round capital. So the fact that it may not push Dobbs, who's been better than we think, just as perimeter, red zone, but even yards per route run, just like not very bad. So I think this year is a pretty strong process pick. But I do agree that like upside wise, I'd like something a little bit more because I'm worried about the Green Bay pass rate, and I am worried about like, Dubs big games are like 6 targets and 2 touchdowns. It's like it's you're really making gravy with it. Otherwise, you're looking at like 3.5 projected targets a game, and you're hoping he hits on one of those big ones. To your point, Noel, very strong prospect profile, and just seems ready-made for this modern NFL offense. I like that a lot. And I think there's been some pretty decent, coach speak for Leggett. He did miss a good chunk of camp last year, we know that's going to impact, skill positions, players' ability to kind of hit in year one. And some of it was injury related. So there's a chance he has a better offseason. The problem is it's already started with like a weird foot surgery. It's been described as minor, but we have no idea what it is. It's some sort of cleanup. He was also banged up with a couple different things. So there's a chance he's a better year 2 player and a better offense. But Thielen coming back, kind of hurts a little bit of that from a like true breakout potential. Just doing the raw numbers and the targets and sure. Such. And I expect them to keep adding weapons, especially. And then, same thing kind of with Dobbs. It's like both those guys, there's a potential that, their true breakout's probably still outside the top 90 picks. And Noel's this black box who could be, one of these, 7th round rookies post NFL draft.
Yeah. And we got both the Iowa State boys. So
do we want to take RB4 here with White or Rico? White would be a 3rd Tampa Bay pick.
Yeah. Let's go White. I mean, as a handcuff, and getting some 3rd down work, I think that's a pretty solid price. And so, yeah, like obviously Bijan, Hampton are workhorses up top, and then filling in with, we saw White when he was getting all the work. He's not particularly efficient, but he can take on all the work. And get it done. We love Bucky Irving, but he is pretty small, which I'm not going to project injury or anything like that. But yeah, I think that's a good range for White.
Absolutely. What's up, Steve? Yeah, I know you're big on Higgins and Harris as well. If I'm ever in a draft with Steve, I know I'm getting none of the fun rookies.
Smart man.
And JT over here trying to fill an underdog bigger board, the $100 contest on underdog. They are hard to fill at this point. You're probably gonna have a lot more luck when they start looking like they might overlay. Final like 10 and 7 days before the NFL draft. Also, JT, I just realized ADHD style. You asked me about when the Typhel Tower expects to stream and therefore potentially fill a bigger board on stream. I believe we're targeting to start those at 7:30 every Thursday night, so 7:30 Central, 8:30 Eastern. So second draft would probably, like 7:30. So the second draft would probably crank up around 8:30, which I would expect if we do the bigger board. And then welcome, real Saint Pat, great dude on X. And yeah, the CLV for Higgins is almost guaranteed once we know the landing spot in draft capital.
Strong mustache as well.
Great mustache Pat has. And then I just won't be surprised if Higgins pushes out a guy like Keon, since he's kind of like this power slot without a home with Shakir getting extended. Tillman falling here is interesting.
Yeah, I don't mind Tillman. Yeah, let's do that.
We can do Tillman.
Is there a tight end here you would want?
I mean, we can take our fourth non-Baker Buck. I don't know if that's the most prudent thing to do. So let's just take Tillman. And I think we could be done at receiver if we'd like with this room. T. Higgins, Chris Godwin, Travis Hunter, Buka, Jalen McMillan, Jaden Higgins, Jalen Knoll, and Cedric Tillman. We could also add another, but I think I like the makeup of this team with year 3, year 1 guys, some year 2 guys, and then just some potentially cromulently priced veterans.
Yeah, that's a really fun receiver room. It's just like a weird good mix of upside profiles. And then, Hunter, I mean, if he's a wide receiver, he could be like, if he's a full-time wide receiver, if we get that news or whatever, how high is he going? Right. Like very high. Egbuka, we were both singing his praises earlier. Jalen McMillan, interesting year 2 guy. And then the 2 Iowa State receivers who, I mean, same thing. Like if they go high in the second round, we could be banking a ton of CLV there and get an exciting rookie season. Even if it's just one of the 2 or Little
Miss Brady doing her best Steve Shope impression and taking all the fun rookie running backs I would have liked ahead at the turn. Very, very sharp to take Giddens and Harvey and starve us of the fun guys. Let me ask you a question. We have Kyler Murray and Justin Herbert as our quarterbacks. Is that a combo you feel comfortable sticking with 2, or do you still feel you'd like to add a third for playoff gauntlet upside or stack upside?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I still lean 3. Because I mean, we can get someone late, even if it's like a dart or someone that just can give us a spike week in week 17, especially given the 20 round format. And like, I don't feel particularly weak at any of the other positions. Like running back, I feel pretty solid with the 2 guys we took early. Wide receiver, we just were talking about, we could be done. And then we have McBride. So I think we can go two tight ends if we want to as well there. So I kind of lean, if I'm going to go just 2, I'd rather go 2 tight ends
I agree
with McBride. So that's my reasoning there. And then, I just want to say, this week I can't do Thursday for a foursome, but I probably will be able to more frequently. So if you guys ever, whether it's Thursday or another night, definitely look for a foursome near you soon.
We will definitely bring the foursome to the people sooner than later. I do agree. I'd rather go 2 tight ends, 3 quarterbacks. On half point PPR, quarterbacks are so much more valuable for single week scoring. I think Gesicki here is our second tight end, attacking another high scoring offense with a guy who limited role, but it's a passing forward role and has a Cincinnati correlation.
Yeah, no, he's good pick there. Always live for a few spike weeks in that. We were talking about the high volume passing offense.
Also, Boogie, I am eating my pre-gym carb. It is potato wedges baked with no oil because I too am cutting, and we're cutting out all the fun calories we were able to eat for the last 2 months. Definitely a potential Michael Wilson team. Mac Nova, ship chaser extraordinaire, has a lot of main event experience, weighing in here on our construction conversation, saying that he likes 2-6-10-2 for this show. We currently sit at a 2-4-8-2. Hard to disagree, because I do think one of the fun things about this contest, seeing that it is 1 of 10 for the last two, playoff final weeks before the finals, and it's a 558 person final. I do think that you are rewarded for going a little extreme at times in order to cover your bases. And when you're right, you can really benefit from being right. And so I am trying to push it a little bit when I can, because you're gonna need some luck to hit. And one of the ways you can do that is just by trusting that you've gotten it right at the onesies, and then just load up as many shots as possible, mainly for like the finals. In the finals, I ideally like 3 quarterbacks if they're stacked up, or it's like 3 dudes with like high end rushing and dual threat ability. And that's one of the reasons why I haven't ended up with a lot of 2 quarterback builds, because I'm not doing a lot of the elite quarterbacks, and there's just a lot of these late potential high value guys like Bo Nix was last year. Like if he's going in the first round and he's got rushing ability, I want that on my team.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of like Dart this year, right? Like,
and then Steve weighing in that Gesicki could see more work with all out with the ACL. That is fair. I just think the Bengals, the contract was strong for Gesicki, but they also do weird stuff like rotate their tight ends no matter what. We're on the clock here. Derek Carr staring us down doesn't feel like a need. Shadur as a first-round quarterback could be the guy. We could also do – I'm not sure what I want to do here. Do you have a lean?
No, this is a weird range. Let's go Shadur. Let's just –
yeah, I was going to say that when in doubt, third quarterback who is – he may be falling. He's still going in the first round. And it seems like the whole falling thesis is that a team is trading back up to get him.
Yeah.
Which is still bullish for his year one lookout. He doesn't have the most friendly fantasy profile. That does not mean that we know for sure it's fantasy unfriendly. So at this point in the draft, I think that's probably a safer bet for week 17 as a quarterback. Your third quarterback should be someone that's live for the playoffs, and I think he's a little less risky than Derek Carr, even though I think he's not as risky considering year one head coach. And the way they've structured their contract with him, they pretty much just they got to try to get what they can out of him, and then go into the next year to save face. Mac Nova also disclaimer that he was terrible in the big board, and maybe that's why. Well, there's a lot of injuries. I do think in a big board, there's like two train of thoughts. Push your edge as far as it is, and really just when you get right, knowing you're going to lose a lot no matter what you do, and then when you're right, you're really right. Versus build sound constructions, hit sound pockets of value, try to identify landmines, try to identify league winners, do your best you can to cobble and just draft really good teams every single time, and then hope to get lucky. I think both of those approaches have merit, and I try to do both depending on how the draft room goes out. I won't always reach for a third, quarterback or tight end, just because I have to. I won't always reach for another running back or receiver, because at times I do think there's value to saying, what if this is right? Because plenty of times those extra darts are complete dog shit. Like how many times we tack on Marshawn Lloyd and Kendre Miller, who could have been good process picks last year, but bad result picks. It's like there's going to be a lot of duds. So even when you think you're building in safety, it might not be safe. And so you might have value in back-to-back years. We've had a lot of quarterback injuries. So teams getting 3 quarterbacks every single time to protect against injury. Well, what happens if you just always go 2 quarterback and you get the 2 quarterbacks that didn't get hurt and you've got everything else lined up and the teams in your pod or multiple pods in the playoffs have, dead roster spot quarterbacks? I think there's value to looking at it both sides from a game theory perspective. Also, what up, Pat? Check out The Pound if you haven't already. Great vibes. He had a really cool stream video this past weekend about how to flip the board properly. And I think that's a really good thing to do. It's fun to say, but thinking through what are you actually doing when you're taking guys way ahead of ADP and what things to be mindful about. I thought that was a really great refresher video. So highly recommend that stream. I believe it was Saturday.
Yeah, that was a really fun one. Shout out to Mathology, the original board flipper.
Also, shout out Who Hames. I think you just got done streaming, brother. Check out Who Hames. Same channel by the same name. Some fun, awesome stuff. Chiefs fan. Good homie vibes.
Powerful beard.
Very powerful beard. All right, 3-4-8-2. Again, we got our two anchors in Bijan and Hampton. We have two standalone and contingent backs really like. So we mentioned pushing it. We decided to push it at running back. So we're going to finish with the three. Well, actually, to be determined, but running back probably the pick here.
Yeah, I agree.
What do you think about Elijah Mitchell?
I think he's most likely not going to make the team, but I do think there is upside. I mean, I think he's a good player. It's just the injuries have, and it's also weird because I don't know if he necessarily fits in kind of the Chiefs system. Like he doesn't, I don't know. I'm not an expert on rushing schemes, but I think Lloyd, I feel like I kind of prefer Lloyd.
I do as well. I will say Elijah Mitchell does feel like the J.K. Dobbins play of this year, where we're too harsh on his injury profile, and we are too harsh on the little amount of money he's making, and that's a hand up for that was my whole thesis on fading him. Which, the disclaimer I did say last year that no one wants to remember is that when you looked at J.K. Dobbins' RAS profile, he had elite explosion, and he was still young enough at an age where if he was gonna, outperform historical comps of guys with Achilles injuries, is because of those two things. And he did exactly that. And when he did that, he paid off because he was a 18th, 16th, 20th round pick throughout the entire big board, despite him having guaranteed $50,000 on the minimum deal. I think Elijah Mitchell, given that he was a day one signing, I don't want to have none because the Chiefs look like they're just a team that right now cobbled together a cheap running back room, and just whoever works, and they'll make it work. And he's probably the most talented guy in that room right now, given age and talent. And yeah, the reason why he's so cheap is because of the injury and because of the money. But it hasn't hindered them from using a fifth-round pick in Pacheco before to carry the load. And it hasn't hindered them from bringing in 32-year-old Kareem Hunt and giving him goal line carries, So, or Jerick McKinnon. Jerick McKinnon was the J.K. Dobbins before J.K. Dobbins. So,
exactly.
Could not stay healthy, gets paid a reasonable, very low amount of money, comes in and has a very lucrative 4-year stretch with the Chiefs, including a really nice extension where he was league winning to extremely valuable, where his last year where he fell off a cliff and we all saw the kind of the writing on the wall, he was like 110 ADP his last year, like 32. So I do think there's room for Mitchell to be that kind of guy. We've seen that happen before. But I do think they're also a team that could just shore up that position in the draft. So I'm more interested after the draft once we know what happens.
Yeah, let's see what receivers here. Jaden Blue is an interesting size speed guy.
Let's do the guy that's in the news, and we'll finish with a 3-6-9-2. Tutu Atwell today. McVay, his quote came out that basically they said, hey, we got to use Tutu more often. We have to find ways to include him more in the offense. I think that's given that he was given $10 million prioritized, and now McVay is saying, in January and February, he said, I want to be more versatile. I want to be more multiple in our formations and our fronts, and I want to utilize our guys better. Tutu gets a way unexpected $10 million contract. And then this week, McVay is doubling down on the versatility aspect by saying, we've got Puka, we have Adams, we have Tutu. We have to get Tutu on the field more often. And when he is on the field, they utilize him for his speed, and he is very efficient with that speed. And with Puka and Adams in this offense, this could just be a very dynamic, very explosive passing offense. And so I went from I'm not touching Tutu because he's you want to talk about a part-time player in Jaden Reed or Josh Downs and 2/3 of the stuff. Now all of a sudden we're talking about, a 12%, 20% type of opportunity guy. Well, pretty bullish comments that they're going to try to utilize him more often. I think that's pretty much that. Like he and Whittington will rotate, but Tutu could also just be taking on the Demarcus Robinson deep pass role stuff. And if he does claim the third wide receiver role, extremely valuable because this is a team that basically lives in three. So I think with strong opinions held loosely, the information coming out this week today and connecting the dots the last couple months, I would prioritize him in Stafford builds, but I do think a guy with his speed and those kind of comments, we talk about guys in this range. You really just want 3-4 catches and a big long touchdown. I think that's squarely in Tutu's ability. So he's probably a better bet than some of these other guys going in this range, given what we know and what we can kind of draw a clear path to upside. I think he's got a clearer path to upside as a wide receiver 3 type than some of these other players.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to take a shot on one of these guys late, guy in a projected good offense, and I think that's a good bet, right? Like all we need is one long touchdown, and we could definitely get that from Stafford. So,
and back to the Gesicki thing, the Pound saying that Gesicki great in those shootout situations, proven to have a nice ceiling, especially because he's like just a big body red zone guy that can take advantage of coverage going to T and Chase Brown. And then I know Steve is a big fan of Gesicki, and he notes that the snaps and targets really jumped when Eric All got hurt, even with Higgins back. And they kind of paid him like that. They kind of paid him as you're basically our third slot receiver, and you and Yoshi will kind of just split whatever's available for that third receiving role type of guy. They're kind of leaning into the tight end just a pass weapon more than he is a blocking weapon. And so I think even when you adjust to that, he could probably rise in their 2 rounds justifiably. And yeah, Bobby Hill, been quiet for a long time, but you say Tutu 3 times. I did tell you to get ready for them cheeks, and guess what? I still have an out because he could still not hit. I do think more bullish today than yesterday, and that's just how the market works, baby. But I will give you your flowers for being a savant. All right, last pick here is probably a running back to round out our Bijan, Hampton, Charbonnet, White, and Lloyd room. Shipley is an interesting guy to take. Jarquez Hunter's a fun rookie to take. Taj Brooks, Rocket Sanders, LaQuint Allen. I'll let you make this last pick.
Yeah, let's go Rocket Sanders.
All right. Could be a guy that gets really interesting draft capital, had really interesting prospect profile with receptions, reception efficiency, and just very explosive player, very explosive type of guy. I know the Slappies love Jaden Blue, but I think Rocket Sanders has a better chance to get better draft capital.
Yeah, no, he's exciting. Obviously, it's draft capital dependent, but seems like one of those guys where even if he does fall to the 5th, 6th round, if given the opportunity, he could take it and run with it. So, 20th round, willing to take a shot.
Yeah, Steve taking Khalil Herbert. I know Mitchell on Twitter is also into Herbert. I'm worried that Indy is a team that specifically has never cared who the backup running back is until they get into the season and just figure it out. Even 2 years ago, we were all taking every backup that wasn't Zach Moss, and then it just ended up being Zach Moss after week 4. They just straight up cut, waived, and benched everybody else. So I think as of now, sure. I just think historically that has been a very fragile RB2 spot, especially considering the team that just used him for that completely iced him after one single play. So that seems to be the thing. NFL teams do not have a long leash for journeymen that fumble. And so with that, I want to be taking some Herbert is fine. I think I definitely prefer some of the other guys in more volume if you're getting a lot of volume down. But I think it's a good shout. I think it's probably got more benefit than taking a guy like Ty Johnson, for example, who his limited role is that he's like a passing specialist that's going to cap out at 8 touches on his best day.
Exactly.
And so I think Herbert over a guy like that probably makes a lot of sense. But we finished with a 3-6-9-2 build. Kyler Murray, Justin Herbert, and Shedeur Sanders at quarterback. Bijan, Hampton, Charbonnet, White, Marshawn Lloyd, and Rocket Sanders at running back. Wide receiver T. Higgins, Chris Godwin, Travis Hunter, and Emeka Egbuka, Jalen McMillions, Jaden Higgins, Jalen Knoll, Cedric Tillman, and Tutu Atwell. Tight end Trey McBride, Mike Gesicki, a.k.a. the new Tyler Boyd.
Beautiful. Yeah.
What's up, Hulk Smash Potatoes?
This is a very different build than our last team. But yeah, I think with the Bijan pick, we took a bunch of young, supple wide receivers, giving us some upside. I like our QB room. It's a fun mix of stacked, obviously Kyler, Herbert. We took a bunch of rookies, so we could luck box into something there.
Phantom stacks, baby.
Shedeur just likely to be playing in week 17, given the round 1 draft capital. And then, yeah, we were talking about Hampton could be a huge value still where he's going at pick. We got him at pick 44. He could be like a 2nd round pick value. And I like the way we finished it out. So.
Yeah, this is fun. And one thing I'm trying to do as we close out these drafts is try to really change up the types of players that are on these teams so that I'm covering my bases with guys that I'm not super confident one way or the other, which we shouldn't really be at this stage.
No.
Especially when it comes to the rookies and the ambiguous veterans. So I generally like this construction. I tend to a lot of 3-6-9-2 builds, and I think as I finish this out, I'm going to return back away from 3 tight ends unless I'm punting the position. But I do love to punt a onesie. I do love to punt these onesie positions because it just provides you a lot of value and leverage on the field. But when you do that, you take away some of these pockets of guys you might take. So it's always good to vary that up a little bit. And maybe I will start taking a little bit more elite quarterback so I can start going 2-2 and hammering everything in between, having some fun with that. But super solid draft, Bendels. Thank you so much for joining us. Tell the people what you got going on over on your channel, Bendels90. I put that in the chat up above. So go give him a like and a sub. But yeah, what you got on the horizon on your channel?
Yeah, thanks for having me on. As always, always enjoy hopping on with you. Yeah, follow me on X at Bendels90. Go sub to the YouTube channel. And last thing I will call out is go join my Discord. You can find that on my X or in some of my recent videos. There's a link in there. But yeah, got about 60 people in there right now talking Dynasty. Got a lot of people that I know through the Dynasty space, through the best ball space that are extremely knowledgeable. So I think it is growing and definitely can be a resource to you, whether it's Dynasty, redraft, best ball, all of that. So thanks so much for having me on, Tyler. Yeah, we got to do a foursome soon, and hope you have a good chest and back workout later on.
Appreciate it, everybody. Thanks. Shout out Fully Loaded. Also getting to catch one of the I haven't seen him in a live stream in a long time, so good to see Fully Loaded. I got to meet him in person at the Ship Chasing Meetup. Great folks. Shout out BB Meat Gazer. Yeah, indeed. Shout out unsung guest appearance of Maple. I'll give you one more view before we close it all out. Little sleepy girl. We got the sleepy head. There we go. Yeah, just out like a light. So thanks everybody for hanging on despite all the extracurricular news. I'll sure give them a stern talking to for ruining my content stream with my online friends. But no, shout out Little Miss Brady. Every time she's in a room with me, she ruins my ability to build a super team. Boogie, Mac Nova, Steve, Pat, Alex, Tiger Uppercut, Who Hames, everybody else that joined. Shout out. Thanks so much for supporting. Drop a comment. I am curious. We talked a lot of players. We talked a lot of stands. We talked looking forward to the draft. I'd like to know one player you think is an absolute must on every single team. If you had 20 more teams to draft before the end of this time box era. I need your one player you have to have. I don't want any blind spots. I don't want any I told you so's, but you didn't say to my stream draft. I don't know. So I'd love to hear who your must draft on every team would be as we close out this pre-draft contest and get ready for hot best ball summer. Thanks so much for hanging out. Have a great day. We'll catch you on some upcoming streams, probably this Thursday with a few friends. Bendel's got a lot of good stuff coming out. And like I said, the Dwayne McFarland rookie supermodel video went live on our channel. So give that a check out. Quick 15 minutes on a lot of really fun, interesting players with Rich and Tom. That was a very fun video to watch. So appreciate everybody. And if you got a membership in the chat, don't forget to join the Discord, get the ranks, get Rich's rookie guide, and I'll see you next time.